Must be practiced. Yoga system. Without deviation. Sankalpa, mental speculation. Material desires. Giving up. All. Shame, completely. Manasa, mind to mind. Certain. Indriya Brahmam, set of senses. Vinayamya, regulated. One should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with determination and faith, and not be deviated from the path. One should abandon, without exception, all material desires born of mental speculation, and thus control all the senses on all sides by the mind. Purport. The yoga practitioner should be determined and should patiently prosecute the practice without deviation. One should be sure of success at the end and pursue this course with great perseverance, not becoming discouraged if there's any delay in the attainment of success. Success is sure for the rigid practitioner. Regarding Bhakti Yoga, Rupa Goswami says, Utsahan Nishchayad Haryat Tat Karma Pravartana Sangatyagat Satovate Tadvir Bhakti Siddhati. One can execute the process of Bhakti Yoga successfully with full-hearted enthusiasm, perseverance, and determination by following the prescribed duties in the association of devotees and by engaging completely in activities of goodness. As for determination, one should follow the example of the sparrow who lost her eggs in the waves of the ocean. A sparrow laid her eggs on the shore of the ocean, but the big ocean carried away the eggs on its waves. The sparrow became very upset and asked the ocean to return her eggs. The ocean did not even consider her a people, so the sparrow decided to dry up the ocean. He began to pick out the water in small heaps, and everyone laughed at him for her impossible determination. News of her activity spread, and at last Garuda, the gigantic bird carrier who her vision, heard it. He became compassionate toward his small sister bird, and so he came to see the sparrow. Garuda was very pleased by the determination of the small sparrow, and he promised to help him. Thus, Garuda at once asked the ocean to return her eggs, lest he himself take up the work of the sparrow. The ocean was frightened at this and returned the eggs. Thus, the sparrow became happy by the grace of Garuda. Similarly, the practice of yoga, especially Bhakti Yoga and Krishna consciousness, may appear to be a very difficult job. But if anyone follows the principles of great determination, the Lord will surely help, for God helps those who help themselves. Om Madhya Vandeham Shito Vita Padagamanam Guru Vaishnavas Rupam Sadrasatam Sahaganagadanatam Dam Sansajivam Svadvedam Bhagavatam Pradeshanastevitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Ravita Sri Vishakhantitam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagapate Omkeshta Gopika Kanta Sapta Panchana Gautamahi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishwavanu Se Devi Pranamani Hari Devi Vanshātana Krishna Upasane Bhagavati Utsam Devyam Vaishnavyam Shri Krishna Cell phones can go in how to do official for the Nishriyena Yokta Yog, Yogo Nirvinda Cheta, Sankalpa Bhagavan Kaman, Shatvan Savana Shesha, Manasai Vendriya Gramam Dinam Yapsamam. Lord Krishna is describing how to succeed in yoga. Some Nishriyena Yokta. One should fix the mind, Nishchayena, with determination. I must do it. That will help us succeed. If we're half-hearted, if we're lackadaisical, if we're slack, then results may or may not come. It will be slow. It will be slow. But if there's determination, that will help us. That will help us. Nishchaya. Nishchaya means determination. And Srila Prabhupada gives the example of this cow and her impossible determination, which enabled her to succeed. So determination, let's say more. Yoga, Anirvinda Chetasa. Anirvinda Chetasa means without deviation of mind. If we want to succeed, then we should be focused. This is my purpose. This is my theory. If we're serious about something, whether it's getting money or getting married, or whatever it is, then we focus on that. If we're splayed out in our thinking, then it will be difficult. but the focus. Anyapinyachetas. Without allowing the mind to go here and there. That focus. And sankalpa prabhavan karman sarvana shesha. Sankalpa kama. Kama means material desires. Material desire means desire for anything other than everything else is material. And where does that material desire come from? Sankalpa prabhavan. Sankalpa means, Prabhupada says, mental speculation. Another term used, mental concoction. In the second chapter, Manogata. When Lord Krishna, Arjuna asked Arjuna, what is the sign? How can we know a self-realized person? How does he sit? How does he speak? How does he walk? And Krishna, from what I've seen in the coming verses there, he doesn't say he sits this way, he speaks that way. His immediate answer is, Prajahati yada kaman sarvam. He gives up all desires that are just products of the mind. He's satisfied with himself. He's not looking for some satisfaction from something cooked up in the mind. Sankalpa prabhavan, that's a good kind of translation for Sankalpa prabhavan. Cooked up in the mind. We're thinking, we're imagining, this will be, that will be. This is interesting, that's interesting. This is worth it, that's worth it. And it's Sankalpa prabhavan. It's cooked up in the mind. Just to give, so many examples can be there. What I think is wonderful, you look at it and say, what's that? But my mind tells me, oh, this is so nice, this is so good. My mental concoction. Sankalpa prabhavan. I'm imagining that material happiness will satisfy my needs tenfold. I'm imagining this is so nice, that's so nice. Just that you see signs in New York. Visit California. And you go to California and see the signs. Visit New York. But what's there? The same thing wherever you go. But one is imagining, oh, New York, Paris, London. It's all the same. But by mental concoction, you dress it up in our lives. Oh, I leave in Paris, I'll leave in Paris. I'll sleep in New York, I'll sleep in Paris. So sankalpa prabhavan. Desires born of the mind. Desires born of the mind. Krishna says, Jayadvait, sarvan, shesha, give them all up. Just toss them. They're not worth it. They're not substantial. They're not pointing towards substance. If I cook up in my mind that I could be a king in what does it mean? It's some mental existence. I could be king. I could be a famous person. I could be a rock star. I could be a great scholar. I could be a this. I could be that. But these things we take very seriously and then go after. Yes, I could be a rock star, I could be a millionaire, I could be a PhD, I could be this, I could be a that. And even if I become that, it's not what I thought it was. The real story is that I'm trapped in this material body. I'm trapped in this material world. And I'm imagining, if I had this, if I had that, now I'm in a third class prison cell. If I could be in a first class prison cell, then my life would be nice. Now I'm wearing these iron shackles. They were gold shackles. Then, yeah. So I'm imagining this material circumstance, that material circumstance. And Krishna said it's all mental concoction, all cooked up in his mind. So Jagva Sarvam Ashesha, keep it all up. Ashesha means don't leave some there. Like what is it? When they do dental work, they don't leave some of the decayed stuff there in the food, they get it all out. Ashesha. So give up this material concoction. It doesn't mean now I won't eat anymore, now I won't sleep anymore. But that should all be on the platform of Krishna, not on the platform of mental concoction. The platform of mental concoction is let me enjoy. Why is that a mental concoction? I'm not an enjoyer. Just not what I am. Not what I'm fit for. Not what I can really do. The enjoyer of everything is Krishna. And our position is that we're designed, we're naturally suited to giving away to Krishna. When we do that, then we become unlimitedly happy. And if we try to be happy by taking Krishna's position, trying to enjoy for ourselves, it never works. Or if we think, yes, it's working, it'll work for a while, and then it won't finish. Either it will spoil, it will turn disappointing or disastrous, or I'll simply die, and then it's over. And then I have to take breath again. Whatever it was that I cooked up for happiness, it's left behind. Real happiness means the happiness of serving Krishna. Manasai, just as the hand will be happy when it puts food in the stomach. If the hand thinks, let me be independently happy, that foolish hand will be miserable. That foolish hand will be miserable. The story is there of how the senses all had a meeting and they were comparing notes that we're all working very hard and this nonsense stomach is doing nothing. He gets all the food. We do all the work and he gets all the benefits. So forget it. They declared a strike. No more food for the stomach. And after some days, the eyes are getting weak, the ears are getting weak, the hands are getting weak, the legs are getting weak. All the senses, active and receptive, are all getting weak. So they held another meeting. And still cooperating. In the sense, when the stomach is getting the food, we're all getting energy. When we try to cut off the stomach and directly enjoy, we're suffering. But that's our position. When we try to independently be happy, separate from Krishna, we make ourselves weak. And when we serve Krishna, we become Manasa Vendriya Grama. The Manasa Eva, Indriya Grama. Indriya Grama means the senses. According to the Vedic conception, we have the usual senses: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, sense of touch. Those are the senses we usually speak of in senses in Western culture. But in Vedic literature, there are also active senses. Those are knowledge gathering senses. Again, you know something about what things look like, what they sound like, what they taste like. Then there are active senses. The hands, the legs, what is that? Hands, legs, anus, genitals, stomach. They're also considered senses, called active senses. So they should all be controlled, our senses of action and our senses of gathering perception. They should all be controlled. Viniyamya. Viniyamya means regulated. Regulated. Regulated doesn't mean stopped. I remember reading Bhagavad Gita before I read Srila Prabhupada's translation. And I thought it was very profound. And at the same time, I couldn't figure out what to do with it. Because the idea of somehow stopping all the senses from acting wasn't doable. You could sit for 15 minutes and close your eyes, something like that. But who can stop the senses and for how long? So, very impractical. But Krishna consciousness means not that I have to stop the senses, but engage them, bring them under control. In the second chapter, Kurmon Gani Vasarvisha, the example is given of the tortoise, which is able to bring its senses, its arms and legs, and within its shell. So when I read that before, I thought this is what we have to do. We have to retract all of our senses. But Srila Prabhupada explains in his purport that the tortoise knows how to do two things: retract its senses and extend its senses. The tortoise doesn't spend its whole life with its head and legs inside the shell. When there's a need to retract, the tortoise can retract. When there's a need to extend, the tortoise can extend. So the Krishna conscious person has his senses under control. When there's a purpose, a need to use his senses for spiritual realization, for Krishna consciousness, for the service of Krishna, he can do it. And otherwise, he can stop his senses. He can hold them back. No, we're not going to do it. He can regulate the senses. One time I said to Srila Prabhupada that I was giving some classes in universities. He said, Srila Prabhupada, it's so hard to persuade the student to give up sense gratification. Business trying to satisfy the sense. Prabhupada said, we don't say give up, but regulate. Just like eating. You don't say no eating. Eating is gratifying to the senses, so we're not going to eat anything. No. But eat Krishna Prasada. No, maybe eat Krishna Prasada. And the senses will be satisfied. And Krishna will be satisfied. We don't say no sleep, but don't sleep like a bear. We don't say no sex, but don't put sex like a movie. But it's always. But these things should be, everything should be controlled. How? History, not with determination. And the prophet says with determination equals true determination. Enthusiasm with confidence that because I've taken up the right process, it'll work. And I have to be patient. It doesn't happen all at once. Success. You just have to follow the directions of the glorified spiritual master. And success is sure. So in this chapter, Krishna's explaining that the Jnana Yoga system, Ashtanga Yoga, is yoga with sitting postures and breathing exercises and so on, which in the present age is practically impossible to perform. Even in the beginning, there's Shujo Deshe Pratishtha. One should go to a sacred place to practice yoga. Not Köln, not New York, not any of these big cities. One should go to the Himalayas, one should go to the sacred place by a sacred. Who can do that? Maybe someone, but not us. Not likely. So that yoga system was for a previous age. Spiritual realization by that system. But in the present age, this kirtan, Hare Kirtan, chanting, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, is the recommended method. And very quickly one will be able to make it yes. It doesn't matter where one is, who one is. Anyone can take this chanting and attain the perfection of yoga. But we should do it with determination, enthusiasm, with confidence, under good guidance, then success is sure. All right, why don't I see about some questions? So we don't have a mic, but if you have any questions, just be loud. I wonder what kind of question. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. I'm wondering what are the characteristics of desires by the mind?
What are the characteristics of cooked up desires?
Because I mean, Shloka was not how has principles and a Raga. So theoretically we can avoid everything.
There's yukta vairagya, which means engagement of things in Krishna's service. Cooked up desires is desires to do something separate from Krishna. Separate from Krishna consciousness. That's cooked up desire. Sankalpa prabhava. Mental speculation. I think this, I think that. I'd like to just follow the process. Don't invent something from our own mind. In material life, this is considered great. The more you can cook up something new in your mind, whatever it might be, if it's different, if it's new, if it's innovative, doesn't matter how crazy, how stupid, how useless, how pointless, if it's different, oh wow, then it's great. But the Vedic literature doesn't encourage us just do something new. It's a problem. If we want to be famous in the material world for 15 minutes, then do something new, something crazy. But for spiritual realization, you don't need to invent something new, something innovative. Just if we follow those who are self-realized, follow those who are Krishna conscious, So, so mental speculation, imagination, this will make me happy. That will make. Let me just engage in Krishna service. All right, if I've imagined something, let me use my imagined idea somehow connected to Krishna. That will be slower than just saying, all right, what does Krishna want? Is that okay? Yes.
Thought if there are cooked desires with Krishna in mind.
Cooked up desires with Krishna. Well, let's look at that for a moment. Cooked up desires with Krishna in mind. Cooked up means imagined. Better not to imagine. Better to go by the wisdom of the acharyas, the sages, the self-realized persons. Otherwise, I'm thinking I could cook this up in Krishna consciousness. I could cook that up in Krishna consciousness. But better to follow. Better to follow. It's so much easier. It's so much easier if I just follow instead of imagine. And it will be more effective. That's called the discipline. Those who are initiated or who will take up the path of following bona fide spiritual master, they don't imagine I should do this, I should do that. They follow what the spiritual master says. That's easier and more definite. When you have driving somewhere, do you follow Google Maps or do you start imagining? Yes. Hare Krishna.
Compassion. For example, compassion. To be compassionate. Compassion. Compassion. For example, in the street, how to, with the books, how to regulate not too much compassion, not less compassion, because both
Not too much compassion.
Yeah.
not too less compassion, not too much compassion.
When we go for book distribution on the streets, how do we regulate that we are not over compassionate about something or not too less compassionate? So
When we go out to distribute literature about Krishna consciousness in the street or some public place, then how do we balance? How do we act compassionately but not too compassionate? There's no such thing as too compassionate. There's no such thing as too compassionate. People are suffering for want of spiritual understanding. So there's no such thing as too compassionate. But again, we shouldn't imagine this will help them, that will help them. We should know what will help them and we should help them accordingly. The world is imagined that if we're compassionate, we could do this, we could do that, we could do this, we could do that. And none of it works. We could feed the poor, we could have the United Nations, we can wipe out hunger, we can wipe out cancer, we can wipe out tuberculosis, we can wipe out this, we can wipe out that. We can make sure that everybody has good housing and good this and good that. We can have a world where there's equality and fraternity, and we can have all of these things. And out of compassion, they imagine how to do it, and it all fails. It all fails. Because according to karma, no matter what you do, people are going to get the results of their previous activities. A certain amount, just like suffering and happiness. Happiness comes of its own accord. in a certain proportion. And suffering comes of its own accord in a certain proportion. Whether we walk do this or we do that, whether there are squads of welfare workers going around. Everyone is going to get old, everyone is going to get disease, everyone is going to die, everyone is going to take birth again. Meanwhile, we're out of compassion, we're solving people's problems. No, we're not. Because we don't know what their problem is, because we have the same problem. They've forgotten Krishna, that's their problem. And we've forgotten Krishna, we have the same problem. What will we do with our welfare, with our friends, for the philanthropic activity? It's superficial. It doesn't actually, like saving, Prabhupada gave the example. A man falls in the ocean and a hero swims out, grabs his coat, and comes back to shore. There's no benefit of saving the coat of a drowning man. We have to save him. So just helping, trying to help superficially with bodily difficulties doesn't address the real needs of the soul. So Krishna consciousness addresses that, and therefore it's the greatest of the. And there's no question of being too compassionate, too generous, too kind.
Maharaj, how do I understand if I'm exactly following my authorities or it's not?
How do I understand whether I'm exactly following my spiritual authority with regard to whether I'm cooking something up? You have to see. You have to see. How do you know whether you're following Google Maps or cooking something up? I mean, everyone knows how to follow, but when your mind starts going and going, so we have to be able to control the mind. Is this your suggestion, or is this the instruction? Oh, this is my own. Everyone knows. And if we don't know, then the spiritual. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
I think it is one of the offenses to teach the holy name to the faithless people. But still, Maharaj, as devotees, how can we still engage them in Krishna?
It's an offense to preach the glories of the holy name to faithless persons. And then how can we still engage people in Krishna consciousness? So you take some risk. You take some risk. You may not put before faithless person all the details of Krishna Lila or Krishna Sattva. But the holy name of Krishna can be chanted everywhere. They have faith or not faith. When you're chanting, unless they're deaf, they're going to hear. Too bad for them. And we're trying to avoid it, but unfortunately, we're chanting and we have, and so they're going to hear it.
Maharaj, thank you very much about this verse. We are mentioning about sense control. Sense control is seemingly impossible, if not impossible. But how to make it really possible?
Sense control is practically impossible. It's not impossible. How to make it practical? Again, it's following. You don't say stop the senses, just like eating. Eat Krishna Prasad. Is that hard? Everyone can do that. Everyone. But then, if we take it very seriously, then we think, well, I'm only going to eat Krishna Prasad. Why do I need to eat this stuff that they've made in their factories and in their stores and their restaurants and in their cinema? Let's take Krishna Prasad, the food offered to Krishna. which will purify, will satisfy my taste buds and purify my mind. Why do I need to be, rubbish? Oh, easy. Thus, we need good association, because if I'm in the association of my friends who are going to restaurants and hotels and that, then they say, "Come on, what's wrong with you? Come on." And they think, "Well, so we stay in the association of devotees. Devotees love Krishna Prasadam, and they love distributing Krishna Prasadam. So then you'll always be in Krishna Prasadam. In a sense. Hearing, there's so much rubbish to hear. The internet is full of it, the radio, the television, so much to hear. But if you stay with the devotees, you will always be chanting Hare Krishna, thinking about Krishna, and your hearing process is beautiful. Or even if you're not right in the midst of the devotees, then what do they make iPhones and mobiles for? So they can keep on playing. What does it need? Determination. I'm not going to hear this rubbish anymore. It doesn't make me happy. It doesn't lead to enlightenment. It just agitates my mind. Let me hear about Krishna. Those topics will make my mind satisfied and free me from material existence. So let me have that determination. And it's not a practical. Both things are doing it. Yes.
When it comes to determination, as you said, if we are in a devotee association, it is favorable. But if we already have old friends, old family relations and all, which is not favorable, how to handle?
If we have devotee association, then it helps us. But if we have old friends, old family, it's not so helpful. Something not so helpful, why do you hold on to it? And maybe old friends, let them become older. You don't have to. We change. If we're serious about something, we associate with those who are also serious about it. And then those who are alcoholics, they don't. You don't hang out with alcoholics. Otherwise, they're going to come and try and pull you in. Don't you miss it? So we change our association. When we realize that our association is materialistic, that it's holding us back. Then we put that association aside and seek the association of sacred people. Yes.
Now, in the lecture, you mentioned that we are making all these plans, but
Oh, you have to jump.
you always make plans in our mind that I want to achieve PhD or I want to become a rock star. Whereas Krishna himself is saying he has a better plan for us. If I were to start and I go by among the vegetarians, he's saying that he has a better plan that we can make a spiritual world, right, and a spiritual body. So, but the mind is always fluctuating when it comes to plan. How to develop this faith, this 100% faith that I can trust Krishna and Acharya's plan that they whatever plan of Krishna, then my own plan.
On one side, there's Krishna's plans, on the other side, there's our plans. How do we develop the faith that Krishna's plan is better in which The more we follow Krishna's plan, the more we'll see, yes, but following this plan, I'm making progress. You'll see progress. And by following my old plans, what was I getting? Disappointment, frustration, a little bit of enjoyment that disappears after 20 seconds. Or 20 days. Spending so much money for nothing. So, and by following Krishna's plan very quickly, we can experience how we're making progress, how we're becoming purified, how our life is better. When we have that experience, we develop confidence. Yes, this. We can see the examples of others who attain success. How that perfection is there. But maybe it's yes. Mhm.
I have one question about recommendation in the next about
Your question about something in the nectar of devotion. Recommendations in the nectar of devotion. Is it not relevant? Is it relevant to today's class? If not, I want to ask you another time. Yes.
You mentioned a few times determination.
I mentioned determination.
Yes. Yes. I see that this is actually the key to not get astray and forget.
This is the key to not going astray.
So, how to develop firm determination?
How to develop firm determination? I can give different answers. One answer is associate with those who are determined. When you're with others who are determined, you develop it. I sometimes in our temple in Bombay, I stay for some days, and right across the wall is like a little, what they call their gymkhana, a place where people go and exercise. There's weights and that kind of stuff. And we see early in the morning, there's people who are doing it. Every day they come and they do all that kind of stuff. And they get strength by doing it with with their friends or associates who do the same thing. They get determination in part from that, from doing it with others. That's one answer. If you associate with those who are determined, you become. Another answer: if we avoid sex life, develop determination. This is therefore in the yoga system, the traditional yoga system, the one that we said doesn't work anymore, or it's not really practical. The requirement is brahmachari, vate, siddha. One must give up sex life 100%. This yoga system is not practiced by married people. One has to go off to the Himalayas and completely give up sex life. People are practicing yoga in a studio somewhere, and they're imagining that they can carry on with sex and indiscriminate eating, whatever they want to do, but they'll call it, they'll do their exercises. That's fine, they may get some physical fitness, but there's not going to be any spiritual sensation. So, in the present day, or the Bhakti Yoga system, there's scope for sex life also in household life. Household life accommodates sex in the service of Krishna. Krishna says in Bhagavad that Dharma Viruddha Bhuteshu Kamas, sex not contrary to principle of karma represents them. The householders have children, that means they have sex, that is for the service of Krishna. So if one can regulate one's sex life, one develops great determination. Or if one can remain completely brahmachari, just forget about sex life. You can live without it. You can live without it. Then you develop strong determination. Prabhupada gave the example of Mahatma Gandhi, who decided to give up sex life And he defeated the British Empire. Defeated the British Empire. So this regulation of sex life is a very powerful tool for developing. Give up sex life altogether. Otherwise, unrestricted sex life is not going to be. Hare Krishna.
How can you serve without being proud?
How can you serve without being proud? You should understand the truth, the conclusions of Krishna consciousness. What am I doing? Actually, nothing is possible without Krishna's sanction. You can't even open my eyes without Krishna's help. I can't even see without Krishna's help. I think that I'm so powerful, but if Krishna withdraws his that power, people won't be gone. So if I'm able to do something, the credit belongs to Krishna. Even in spiritual life, I'm able to do something. Probably when he's bold and he goes, Swami, I said, by the grace of my spiritual grace, you should keep that in view. Okay.
Maharaj, with the changing generation. So I heard your seminar on Kirtan started. How to develop this determination to pass on the originality, how to maintain the
You
original.
heard my seminar on Kirtan standards. How can you develop the determination that has to be
The originality.
the original thing? It doesn't take a lot of this. Same thing, you don't need mental concoctions. Just do what we receive from the Lord source. Anything, kirtan, worship, cooking. Doing it according to the direction of the spiritual master, according to the direction of Krishna. Isn't any harder than doing it according to our own mental concoction. And the result will be better. You don't get paid extra for doing that. We're asked to speak something. Let's repeat what you've heard. That's easier and more effective than coming up with some magic things to say. It's easier, and it's what we're supposed to do. It may be easier, it may be harder. This is my job. Prabhupada gives the example that we're all postal workers here. Postal worker, he just takes your letter and delivers it. He doesn't get in there and say, "It would be better this way, it would be better that way." This is too much to say. Deliveries. That's easier than, getting in there and adjusting all the letters according to my own. That's delivery. That's the job. So we all have some duty to perform. Everyone has to prescribe according to Swami. So we should perform that duty according to Krishna's direction. Easier and we don't have to invent anything. It's already there. For spiritual realization, we don't have to come up with some new method. And what do we do? Stop moving, directing, stop here. Just 2 minutes before. What happens now?
Gauradesh.
Or RT happens. Okay, I should probably plug my book. Right?
Yes.
Um, Yeah. For those who are interested. I've written a book some time ago, not even to come by in here. Whatever we get goes to the Gauradesh Foundation, spreading the kindness, special. And after the Gauradesh will be available, how we work who's managing.
For the book distribution, we can sit out there is a section where the book distribution can happen.
There's a section where the book distribution could happen, or if you're interested in this book. And if we have more time, it's all we're done.
And because Maharaj is personally present, if Maharaj would like to also give a note on the book.
Yeah, I'll sign the book if you want, and then it becomes more valuable.
Haribol.
There's not a lot of copies.
Yeah, about 15 copies.
But some of them have to go for.
Yeah.
Something short.
So, yeah,
Okay,
please come forward, just want the books later.
I've researched. And now it's time for the book.
Jai. Jai. Jai.